secure meaningful relief. This is not an action we take lightly. This is not a case that we know is going to be decided very quickly, but it's of the utmost importance. That's why we dedicated the level of resources of the state AGs brought together here, addressing issues that are top of our national agenda. Because when we think about the state of our young people, all of us are alarmed. There are challenges that we as a nation must face, none more important than whether our young people are okay. And right now, they're not okay. We need to be acting to make sure that we put people's public health, people's mental health over the profit of companies who may have an interest in keeping these young people engaged in what is dangerous to their health. We see this as a positive step forward. We know there are many steps ahead as we take this journey. We are fortunate to be working together, and the collaboration you see here is deep, is genuine, and I'm honored to be working with Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti, who I now will yield the floor to.
Thank you, Phil. It's been a pleasure working with Phil on this and with all the leadership and all the states that have been working on this issue. We've been doing this investigation for years, and social media and its impact on young people is one of the most important things that I'll work on in my career. Meta is one of the biggest and most powerful companies in the. They're more vulnerable and more susceptible to this kind of manipulation. And these products are hurting kids. And we know that the company was well aware of the negative effect that its product was having on kids. It knew that there were these mental health issues and that Instagram was making it worse. And rather than make any changes or rather than warn anybody, the company doubled down, seeking more and more engagement from kids. And instead of telling people there was a problem, it made false representations about how this was a safe platform that wasn't going to hurt kids. And the research that showed that there were problems got buried. And so our lawsuit is to make the company stop hurting kids. We know that there were decisions made, a series of decisions to make the product more and more addictive. And what we want is for the company to undo that, to make sure that they are not exploiting these vulnerabilities in children, that they are not doing all the little sophisticated, tricky things that we might not pick up on that drive engagement higher and higher and higher, that allow them to keep taking more and more time and data from our young people. And so we're working together toward that end. This is not about money. This is about protecting kids. And what we want is for the company to change its behavior. And this is part of a broader effort by the attorneys general to make all the social media companies responsible in this respect. We see the numbers for teenage mental health in America, and they have fallen off a cliff. And we know from experts and from the company's own research that social media is a significant contributing factor. And what we need to do to protect kids is make sure these companies are being responsible and transparent, and we need to hold them accountable when they are not. This is a tough time in America. We have polarization, the likes of which we have not seen since the Civil War. And so for all of the attorneys general from both parties, people who frequently disagree very vocally and very publicly, to all come together and to move in the same direction, I think that says something. That says that this is important. That says that this is a big challenge. That says that we are taking on powerful opposition. The attorneys general first started working together back when Standard Oil had its monopoly. And it's always been the case that when there are companies that a state can't take on by itself, we work together. And this is a great and historic example of the AGs working together, of people setting aside their ideological differences, setting aside their political differences, and doing what's right for kids. And I'm so proud to be a part of it. I'm so proud of the team we have here in Tennessee for the very hard work that they've done, contributing to the national effort and bringing our state case. And I am proud of my colleagues and their staffs and all the work that we've done together. It's my pleasure to introduce now California Attorney General Rob Bonta. Rob?
Thank you, Attorney General Skrmetti, and it's an honor to be here with you, everyone. California Attorney General Rob Bonta. Let me first say how proud and grateful I am to be working with attorneys general from across the country, multi-state, bipartisan, to work towards a common goal. support and uplift the health and safety of our children. So thanks to all of you who work so closely with us on the investigation into MEB and the resulting lawsuit that we filed today, as well as my staff and the staff that we work with across the country in this investigation and with whom we'll continue this fight for our children's safety online. Thank you. It's a team effort across many states to do the right thing here, and I'm deeply appreciative of the collective effort. We're here because we're facing a problem that is national in scope, so it requires a national response, which you're seeing on full display here today. Our investigation has found that Meta has misled its users and that it's putting our children in harm's way. There's a mountain of growing evidence that social media has a negative impact on our children, evidence that more time on social media tends to be correlated with depression, with anxiety, body image issues, susceptibility to addiction, and interference with daily life, including learning. Evidence that every additional hour young people spend on social media is associated with an increased severity in symptoms of depression. Evidence that excessive and problematic social media use has been linked to sleep problems, attention problems, and feelings of exclusion among young people, as if being young isn't hard enough. Meta knows all of this and more, and yet has decided to disregard these serious dangers to promote their products and prominence to make a profit. Not only did they disregard the danger, they lied about it. They lied to users, to parents, to all of us. Mark Zuckerberg testified to Congress that Meta doesn't design its products to be addictive, that Instagram doesn't harm children. Instagram president Adam Mosseri testified to Congress that Instagram is not addictive. Meta as a company has put out a number of public statements that appear to contradict its own internal research about the effect of Instagram on children. In fact, our investigation has found instances where the company acknowledged internally that it had misled the public with its external public-facing comments. We know that Instagram in particular includes design features that are harmful to our young people, features that unscrupulously induce extended and habitual use of Instagram by exploiting known psychological vulnerabilities in developing brains. We know Meta had internal discussions about the negative impact of the like button, but decided to keep it anyway. We know Meta has internal documents that include studies and reports discussing the harmful effects of Meta's products and the mental health problems they can cause young users. We know that Meta knows that Instagram is addicting. It even used that word internally, addicting. Meta's conduct is deceptive, it's dangerous, and as we make clear in our lawsuit, it is illegal. As a dad of 3, I'm angered and I'm horrified by what our investigation has turned out. As California AG, I'm acting today because it's clear that the law has been violated. It's clear that Meta has deceived users and harmed our children and teens to pad the corporate bottom line. No more. We refuse to allow Meta to trample on our children's mental and physical health, all to promote its products and increase its profits. We refuse to allow the company to feign ignorance of the harm it knows it's causing. We refuse to let it continue business as usual when that business is hurting our children. Today, we draw the line. We must protect our children online, and we will not back down from this fight. Proud to be in this fight with all of my fellow AGs who joined this lawsuit. Thank you all for your work. We're at the beginning of a journey. Look forward to participating in it with you, and proud to hand it over to Massachusetts Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell.
Thank you, AG Bonta, and thank you to all of my colleagues who've joined in this effort. Good afternoon. I'm honored to join this bipartisan coalition. This has actually been a multi-year effort for this office. In 2021, we co-led the bipartisan nationwide investigation and response to publicly release documents from Meta showing the company knew how harmful its platform was for young people. I want to extend gratitude to my team, past and present, for their work on this particular matter, including for my Public Protection and Advocacy Bureau Senior Child Counsel Christina Chan, for my Children's Justice Unit Director Liza Hirsch, Assistant Attorney General Cassandra Thompson, from my Data Privacy and Security Division, the Chief Jared Reinheimer, Assistant Attorneys General Aaron Davis, Caitlin Karpenko, and the paralegal, because we can't forget our paralegals, Grace Yu. And from my Civil Investigations Division, Senior Investigator Edward Cherubin. And I also want to thank Sarah Cable, my Deputy Attorney General. And of course, I want to thank all of my colleagues, some of course who are on here today and many who have joined this effort. Today, attorneys general from across the country are filing suit against Meta. In Massachusetts, we are blessed to have some of the strongest consumer protection laws in the country. And because Meta has violated these laws, we're taking our claim to state court. As we take on one of the biggest social media platforms in the country, each of our respective states must bring the strongest case possible. We will continue to work together to achieve our shared goal to protect our children from predatory businesses that exploit their vulnerabilities. Meta has preyed on an entire generation of young people for profit. On its Instagram platform, Meta secretly deployed design features and mechanisms that deliberately exploited young people's still developing brains and adolescent vulnerabilities. They did so in order to override the young person's ability to self-regulate their use. These features include the infinite scroll, near constant notifications and alerts, autoplay features where young people are presented with no choice but to watch the next thing and stay trapped on the app, features designed to create a sense of a fear of missing out or FOMO, and a slot machine type tactic called intermittent variable rewards to keep young people addicted to their app. The company knew exactly how these design decisions could and would hook young people to the point of addiction, and yet continued to use them, and in many cases rejected using feasible alternatives that they knew would mitigate harm to our young people. They did all of this with profit in mind, not people, not young users. There is nothing wrong with looking to make a profit, but we allege in our complaint that Meta's unscrupulous and unconscionable conduct and its campaign of deception in order to pursue that profit has gone beyond what is legally permissible and has contributed to an ongoing mental health crisis among our children here in Massachusetts and of course across the country. In a divisive political climate where Republicans and Democrats can't seem to get anything done, these AGs are stepping up from all across the country, working together in partnership and collaboration because we agree on this. We're using every tool available to our offices to address this crisis and to prioritize our young people. Not just saying we care about our young people, taking action that directly will benefit them. I'm proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with my counterparts on this, grateful for their respective leadership. And now I look forward to turning it over to my New Hampshire counterpart, Attorney General Formella.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you to all my colleagues. We are proud in New Hampshire to join this bipartisan, broad coalition that is taking action after an investigation that's taken place over the last 2 years. Our collective efforts in this case across party lines, across geographic lines, are a reminder that in this era of hyperpartisanship that my colleagues have referenced, when it comes to the most important things like the health and safety of our kids, there really is so much more that unites us than divides us. As part of our investigation, we've reviewed thousands of documents. We've taken many depositions. In New Hampshire, we solicited feedback directly from parents, coaches, teachers, and others who have interacted with kids to tell us about their observations of the harm that has been caused by the rise and use of social media platforms. The data and the feedback is clear. New Hampshire's kids and kids throughout America are experiencing a mental health crisis. Here in New Hampshire, almost half of our high school students report feeling persistently sad or hopeless. Close to 25% report considering suicide, and perhaps most devastating of all, almost 10% report having actually attempted suicide. These are astronomical increases over the past decades, 75%, 72%, and 60%. Respectively. I don't think New Hampshire is unique in those numbers, but I put them forward today as an example of why it's so important to our state and all of our states. So we're taking action. In New Hampshire, this morning, we filed a lawsuit against Meta Platforms and its platforms Facebook and Instagram in state court. We're bringing consumer protection claims and developed some good law on the authority of the Attorney General to bring products liability claims on behalf of the people of the state. We're also bringing products liability claims, and we're bringing a negligence claim. Meta is clearly aware of the harms that its platforms cause, but it has not taken steps to remedy those harms. And in fact, it's doubling down. It's lulled parents and kids into a false sense of security, and it conceals the extent of the harms that its platforms cause. Now Meta is targeting a new generation of kids, and it's not just teens. We've heard that recently Meta has developed an ad campaign that targets users under 13, despite the fact that they claim not to allow kids under 13 on their platforms. And Meta does all of this to increase its user base and its profits. Meta has built an immensely profitable and expansive empire by exploiting our kids. New Hampshire is the live free or die state. We value freedom of enterprise. We celebrate the pursuit of success and profit in many contexts, but we have to balance the freedom of enterprise and the pursuit of profit with public safety and the health and well-being of our people, especially our kids. The actions we're taking today send a strong message. We will not tolerate the pursuit and expense of the pursuit of profit. We will not tolerate the pursuit of profit at the expense of the mental health and the well-being of New Hampshire's kids, of America's kids. Like the tobacco cases of the 1990s and the opioid cases of the 2010s, once again, the states, through their attorneys general, are called to take action, collective action, bipartisan action to protect our people. And this time, we are protecting our kids. I want to thank all of my colleagues across the country and their teams for all of the work that has been done on this effort. I want to thank my team for all of their work on this effort. We are proud to stand with you. New Hampshire is proud to join you in this fight. And I know that with our collective effort, we will be successful, because when it comes to the mission of protecting the health and safety of our kids, failure just simply is not an option. With that, it's my honor and privilege to turn it over to my friend, the Attorney General of Nebraska, Mike Hilgers.
Thank you, General Formella. Thank you, General Weiser and General Scarametti in particular for your leadership. Thank you to my fellow colleagues on this particular call and all around the country. This is a bipartisan, broad-based, and nationwide effort to help protect our children. Each one of my colleagues on this press conference today have eloquently spoken about the investigation and about the need to protect children all across the country. And I won't repeat those points today, but I will only say I wholeheartedly agree with them. But let me make two other points. Not only do we stand in protecting children today, we stand to protect parents. I'm a parent. I have 4 little kids, all under the age of 13. And their parents like me all around the state of Nebraska and all around the country who are doing the very best that they can each day to try to make good decisions for their children, so that they can protect the physical and mental well-being of their children. And what those parents need is accurate and truthful information, and in particular with products like Meta that can have such a profound negative impact on their children's mental health and well-being. They didn't get that information. And not only did they not get accurate and truthful information, but Meta misled them. They misled consumers about the impact of their platform, and they contradicted in their own internal documents what they said to the public. That's outrageous, it's appalling, and it's wrong. And let me make a second point. Every day, it seems like we open up the newspapers and we hear about the mental health crisis here in the United States. And Nebraska is not immune from that. And we know that no matter how many billions of dollars we devote to that particular problem, and no matter how many people that we have, it's not enough. And we are being swamped with a deluge downstream from upstream impacts on people's mental health. And it is incumbent on all of us as leaders to be able to step forward and say, how can we get ahead of this? How can we go upstream and try to address and tackle the issues that are causing this mental health crisis? And here we know, as AG Bonta so eloquently stated, the impact, the correlation between social media use and mental health problems, especially with children. And what we've seen is the profound impact of Meta's tool put forward a misleading and deceptive way for children. And it's incumbent on us to help protect this generation of kids and the next generation of children so that we can get upstream of this problem that is swamping communities all around the country. I'm proud to stand with all of my attorney general colleagues all across the state, all across the country in a bipartisan, broad-based way to help protect kids, to help parents, and help protect communities. Nebraska's consumer protection laws are put in place precisely for this reason, and we intend, with my fellow AGs, to enforce the law, take action, and help protect citizens in this country. With that, I will hand back the mic to General Weiser for Q&A.
Thank you, AG Hilgers. And what I would recommend is if people could put their questions into the Q&A chat so we can expedite it. The first question is specifically for Andrea Campbell, and it's worth emphasizing. We have 8 separate state lawsuits. Obviously, we've got 2 such states here, Tennessee and Massachusetts. This is for you, AG Campbell. How is your Massachusetts lawsuit different from the federal one? How is it similar?
Thank you, AG Weiser. So we obviously here in Massachusetts filed in state court. I think some of the themes are similar, but we're focusing on our strong consumer protection laws here and focusing on, of course, bad conduct by Meta. The fact that they used significant neuroscience research to design an app that they knew to be addictive, that would lead to harm of young people. And of course, that harm has been expressed today. An uptick in depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, and so much more. And so this is about taking on their lies and deception, taking on the platform in such a way that we have, of course, made the connection of not just the addictive platform, the effect that that addictive platform has had on our young people, and the fact, as many colleagues have stressed, that they could have sought out different alternatives and chose not to because they put profit over the well-being of our young people.
Thank you. I'm going to take the next question from Cecilia Kang, and then there's one that I think especially goes to AG Hilgers, Nebraska reporter. Cecilia Kang asks, what remedies are you seeking, and can you talk about next steps? Did you try to seek a settlement? I will speak for myself personally. I always will meet with any company before filing a lawsuit to see whether or not there can be a amicable settlement where you can work through the issues and come to a agreed upon settlement. I am always open to that. Here, that was not something that was able to happen. So we are filing this lawsuit seeking remedies. And you raise a very important point. What are the remedies we're seeking? The essential goal of the remedies is to protect kids' mental health and physical health, which means to end practices that are designed, and you heard a number of my colleagues talk about it, addiction, to take people down dark holes and frankly mislead people about what the impact of the platform is, as well as to stop marketing to young kids whose presence on this platform don't know about and haven't consented to. As for timing in any litigation, that's hard to say because obviously there are currently in the Northern District of California motion to dismiss. We believe those will be defeated, but then the question will be, when will this go to a full trial? It's probably too early to give you an answer. I want to go to the next one for AG Hilgers, which is what's the end goal? And is it to block social media for kids entirely or something else?
It's a great question. Thank you, General Weiser. I think General Weiser explained, what we want is this activity to stop. We want Meta to stop using its misleading, its algorithms, it's all the things that General Bonta talked about. It's all the features that help make it so addicting. We want to make sure that it complies with COPPA. We want to make sure that they're actually taking verifying age and making sure that people who are on the platform are those that are lawfully are able to be on the platform. So ultimately, that's what we're seeking to do through the injunctive relief in this particular case.
Closely related question for AG Bonta from Queenie Wong from the LA Times. What specific steps do you hope Meta will take as a result of this lawsuit?
Yeah, thank you. I'll emphasize and reaffirm the statements already made. We're first and foremost focused on behavior change, injunctive relief, change of practices, where There is a knowledge of addiction, a seeking out of addictive behavior, and a knowledge that those behaviors by young people cause harm. We want to address that harm that our children are facing, the depression, the anxiety, the suicidal ideation, the self-harm. It's wrong. It needs to change. So first and foremost, behavioral change going forward. And then, of course, civil penalties, restitution, damages are all a part of the remedies as well. But the primary goal here is to protect the health and safety of our children, and to use the data and studies that give us the knowledge of harm for good, to protect our kids, not to exploit them and to seek a profit while our children suffer. So we're looking for injunctive change and changing the practices that have led to the known harm, and moving forward with healthier practices and protocols on the platform.
There are a number of versions of this question. One comes from Lauren Feiner. I'll direct it to AG Skrmetti. Meta is not the only. Their actions stand apart from its peers, and in the obvious point some others make, are you investigating any other such platforms? AG Skrmetti?
So this is an industry-wide investigation. Because of the size of the companies involved, there has to be some sequencing in our approach. Here in Tennessee, we filed a motion in Chancery Court involving discovery violations by TikTok. I think we had 46 other states sign an amicus brief that Colorado authored, alleging that we were not getting the documents we were entitled to under our investigative laws. So this is not just about Meta, but as one of the biggest players and as an entity where there's clear evidence of misleading the public and of making deliberate decisions that hurt kids, I think it's appropriate that we lead off with this particular lawsuit.
Sue Kang has a follow-up question. Others have the same question. I will respond, and AG Bonta can supplement. There's a parallel suit led by consumers in the Northern District of California. What can you say about that lawsuit? First, I will say there are now motions in that lawsuit that are motions to dismiss. We do not believe that this case is one that can or should be decided on a motion to dismiss. We believe this case is going to need to be decided at the merit stage. We have not spoken to whether these cases will be consolidated in what exact form, but I do recognize that the claims are quite similar, and the multi-district litigation and our action will need to be managed in tandem. We've handled such matters before. Obviously, the type of relief that we are going to get is going to be nationwide relief. And so the coordination that we bring across the AG community, we believe is invaluable to this. And the nature of this coalition, we believe, is going to be critical to the resolution, whether or not this Northern District of California MDL or multi-district litigation is the vehicle that will ultimately drive that. We're going to have to see how this plays out, but we obviously now have a seat at that table. AG Bonta, you want anything about that in the federal court matter?
Yeah, I'll just add it that these are national issues which, not surprisingly, have a national response. We have private plaintiffs, we have AGs across the country, bipartisan, all engaged, and an appropriate place to address the multiple concerns from across the country is a multi-district litigation forum. And so there's private plaintiffs involved as well. They operate in parallel to our efforts. We welcome others engaging on this national collective challenge to our health and safety of our children, including, there was another question about this, state legislators, local leaders. Everyone can play a part in the solution. So I think more is more. More watchdogs on the block is better. More entities and efforts to hold Meta accountable for the illegal actions that they've taken that harm our children is appropriate. So the multi-district litigation forum is a place where you're going to see a lot of action. And I think these cases will move past motions to dismiss and to the merits, where I believe in ultimately will be successful.
For AG Formella, you referenced freedom. A question is about the freedom of speech and the First Amendment. Why is this lawsuit meritorious, and how do you respond to the First Amendment argument that the case should be dismissed?
Well, we expect Meta to raise a number of defenses, the First Amendment being one of them, but we ultimately feel that we will prevail as we've talked about, we have a mix of cases. We've got some cases in state court. We've got the multi-district litigation in federal court. Our state court cases, at the end of the day, are brought under state law. They're consumer protection claims. And we believe that the First Amendment defense will not be successful against those claims. I also mentioned in New Hampshire, we're bringing products liability claims because we've got some particularly good products liability law. And we think that the First Amendment defenses will not be successful against those claims. At the end of the day, this is not about speech. This is about Meta's conduct. And we believe that Section 230 defense, again, it will be one defense that Meta raises. We do not believe it will be successful.
Another question for AG Bonta from Melissa May from KPBS in San Diego. Can you talk about the concrete numbers of statistics that are the case in California, mental health numbers, rates of suicide, sleep deprivation, and are any of these particularly impactful for you?
I mean, let me answer the second part of the question first. Whenever our children are being harmed, when they're being hurt, whatever that form may be, depression, anxiety, certainly self-harm, suicidal ideation, that's a problem for me as a father, as someone who is committed to protecting all Californians and doing my part to protect children throughout our state and our nation. And so California, of course, is the biggest state in our great nation. And so we have a significant impact on our community here. We can share some of the specific data that relates to California subsequently, but we have shared some of the national impacts and data, and California certainly bears its proportionate, which is significant, share of that burden on our children. So we're going to continue to fight for them. And whenever a child is harmed, especially when adults knowingly do it after they've have the information, when there's no guesswork involved, they know, but they do it anyway. That's a problem. And so that's why we're acting.
Dan Bucci has a question for Andrea Campbell. You mentioned this is a multi-year effort for your office. Can you say exactly how long has your office been looking into this, and what did that research entail?
Since the summer of 2021, with some folks, of course, who are part of this effort today. And that investigation obviously continued and up until today, and revealed quite a bit, which is in the complaint. But the focus and what was made clear and as described in the complaint is the fact that you have a company who focused on profits and not on the well-being of young people, who based on significant research, based on significant conversation internally, designs a platform and an application to be addictive, knowing it's addictive, proceeds to continue to go in that direction, not to employ other alternatives, even knowing that it's causing significant harm, has been described by everyone. So this is a culmination of that investigation, and we're proud, of course, to be a part of this effort with all of you.
Two questions for AG Skrmetti, one from the Boston Globe, one from the Denver Post. What time frame are you anticipating? You mentioned it may not be swift. Can you say anything about timing? Second, any updates on the TikTok investigation?
So I'll take the second first. With TikTok, we are still litigating our discovery requests. We sent some requests for production to them as part of our pre-suit investigative process authorized under Tennessee law. And we have a chancery court here in Nashville that's looking at that issue. We will know when the court tells us that that's resolved. I don't anticipate it will be too long, and then we'll see where things go from there. With respect to the time frame overall, it may take a while. The multi-district litigation in California is potentially a vehicle for settlement talks across the industry. It could take individual litigation driving each company into good behavior over time. Ultimately, there are a number of ways that this could get resolved, but we know it's not going to get resolved unless we do something. And we, as the AGs, have a better platform than anybody else to push these companies in the right direction and to make sure that our kids are protected. And so we're going to keep pushing until it's solved.
Aaron Sutherland has a question that picks up on this, which is, how do you expect this lawsuit to influence other social media platforms. I will pick up what AG Skrmetti said. If you look at the state AG community, and big tobacco and the 1990s has been mentioned. We've mentioned the opioid matters. I could add to that list Juul. Each of those young kids were a real concern. And we believe that the leadership of state AGs can matter, can have a powerful impact on a range of companies. As AG Skrmetti noted in the California litigation, there are a number of companies there. Obviously, this action is against Meta. We've publicly announced the action against TikTok. This is something that is going to be a focus of ours, how we address what we recognize as a broader problem. And there are other actors, federal, state policymakers, will work with them to address these concerns. Quick question for Andrea Campbell, which is, the public wants to access your litigation. Is it on your website? Where can they find the relevant information? And can you specify which court in Massachusetts you filed it in?
We filed in Suffolk Superior Court, and the press release that we sent out has links to the previous investigation and, of course, the complaints. So we can follow up if folks can't find that. Or folks can follow up with us if they can't find it.
All right. Question from Commonwealth Magazine, and I'll let any AG want to answer, which is, how much of the lawsuits rely on the documents that were released by Frances Haugen? Is there new research that you've been uncovered as well? Do you want to take this one? AG Campbell, you're nodding your head. You're muted right now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
We relied substantially on those documents, and of course, we have new information as we all tag team this and share information with each other that's useful. So it relies on that, but also additional information.
All right, we are going to need to wrap up. I want to make sure that my colleagues have fully addressed the points. I know I've called on people, so let me just ask among you any final points that anyone wanted to mention, whether any questions or anything else before we wrap.
The one thing I would say is our complaint is full of redactions based on protective orders in place as we conducted our investigation. So if you read it, it looks like something that was released by the CIA. There are black boxes all over covering up certain portions of the complaint. We have asked the court to allow us to release the unredacted complaint, but anybody who's looking at it in the meantime, just know that there is material that's blacked out, but we are working to get all of that information to the public.
Let me add, go ahead, Andrea.
I would just add, I want to echo Jonathan, and the same thing with our complaint. Folks may look at it and be alarmed, but we're in the same boat, and we'll keep folks updated as we proceed.
And I just want to underscore, we've all stated this, we need collaboration. We need bipartisan commitment on this issue in the state AG community. You're seeing that. And there's a lot of that collaboration across the states that went into filing a lawsuit of this ambition and importance. That is something I believe the people of the United States can take pride in. And the spirit that went into this is going to continue. We are all vigilant on this issue. This is personal to all of us. And the companies are on notice that they need to change. And we're going to make sure that change happens. The work ahead is going to be formidable. We're up to it. We've taken on other big challenges before. We're taking on this one too. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.